Hi guys, Mr. Sonnenberg here. Today we're going to be discussing impacts of human health initiatives. This is going to be for Science 24 students, again studying Unit 3 Disease Defense, and this is topic 2 of this unit. So hopefully this information, the screencast, helps you to answer the questions in your post-assessments. And remember, in the unit outline we have a list of questions that you'll want to think about as you view the screencast through these various topics, and they're going to be the key points that we want you to learn. So the first thing we need to talk about is public health. So what is it? And well, it's a group of people working together to build healthy communities. Okay, so one thing that happens within this is the government actually helps to promote public health, and they do that by providing money or um, sometimes even creating some laws and stuff around public health. But this public health, we are building, well, I don't know why I went right to left, but building healthy communities. Okay, and it's a group of people working together. So really, if we look at public health, we can just say, what's the responsibility of individuals for public health? Is it just the government's responsibility? No, it's the responsibility of every individual. So I'll just write that really quick. Every individual. See, this writing part sometimes scares me a little bit because I'm always scared I'm going to spell something wrong and then everyone will catch me and they'll make fun of me. So I kind of worry about that a little bit sometimes. But every individual. So let's just move on. So that's public health, okay? So we're just creating healthy environments. Now, improving human health, how can we improve that? Well, provincial health departments do what they do. Okay, so what do they do? Well, first of all, they monitor the safety of drinking water. Okay, check it. They check the pollutants in the air. Okay, and then they take measures to avoid outbreaks of disease. Okay, so again, we have to have potable water, which means we're able to drink it. And in order to have that, because water is one of the necessities for us to live, and a lot of, even you think back to blood components, how much of our plasma and our blood and our body is made up of water, right? So we need that water, but we need it to be safe to drink. We can't just go out to the lake. I can't just go out my patio door and walk down to the lake and then just drink it, right? I need to ensure that it is safe. But what happens is these provincial health departments are actually going to monitor that water to ensure it's safe. And I've actually been in my previous school. What happened was the water wasn't safe a few times because of a burst in the pipes. So the boil water advisory was in effect, and they had to let us know that the water was not potable at that time and we couldn't drink it. Or we couldn't even wash our hands with it. The other thing, like I said, checking for pollutants in the air pollution. Okay, we're breathing in air all the time, so we want to make sure there's no pollutants in that. Moving on. Okay, water quality. So we're going to talk individually about these various things, but water quality. So it's tested on a regular basis to ensure it is safe for drinking, cooking, bathing, or swimming. Okay, we use water for other things as well. I put it in a water gun sometimes. Of course, not all the time, but just making sure water is safe. Okay, so if water is safe to drink, okay, well, how do we get it to that point? Well, we have water treatment plants, and then we use chemicals such as chlorine to kill harmful bacteria. So if you go to the swimming pool, well, they have a level of chlorine that is put in, and they have a certain amount of chlorine that has to be present so that it can ensure that the water is safe to drink or safe to swim in. But also when we drink water, especially if you're rolling through town and we have treatment plants, the water treatment plant maybe in your community would be using chlorine to kill those bacteria or those harmful pathogens. Sorry, apologize, my voice is a little hoarse again. So, removal of garbage. We don't want litter sitting all over the place and then making its way not just of around the land and stuff and hurting the environment, but it also could make its way and enter the water system. So those are the two key points. So why do we have waste management sites or garbage removal? Well, because we want to prevent them from harming the environment, and I'll just underline that for you guys right there. Okay, as well as we don't want it to enter the water supply. Okay, those are really important. You're going to need to know those. Okay, so before the landfill is used, the ground is sealed to prevent toxic chemicals from accidentally entering the water supply. So we want to seal it, and actually, if you remember back to Science 9, what happens is we use various layers to ensure we can seal that so that we don't get any of these toxic chemicals seeping through and getting down into underground water, into other watersheds and such, and then passing that along to other species and harming them within the environment and such. So we have layers, okay, that are going to protect against that. Now, treatment of human and animal waste. Okay, so this is another way that the government maybe creates, or we utilize public health initiatives to ensure that we are safe in the environment and such. Okay, and taking care of ourselves or taking care of our environment. So in sewage treatment plants, okay, we take solid waste and remove by settling or filtering. And then what happens is helpful bacteria decompose. And remember, bacteria can be both helpful and harmful. So when we talked about pathogens, we talked about both those key points. And so they can decompose any organic matter, those bacteria. Then the water is treated chemically, and now it's made safe to drink. So it seems kind of weird that we would take sewage and turn it into potable water, but there's a process that occurs. It's actually kind of a funny story because years ago, trying to make money as a struggling student, I would come back in the summer and I would run a mobile steam truck. And so it was a pressure washer, and in the winter it was a steam, and I could thaw things out. And so I'd drive a bomb around this truck, and I remember the owner of the truck saying to me the night before, said, well, I need you to come with me. We're going to go clean the muffin eater. And I didn't know what a muffin eater was. I thought we were going to Tim Hortons to, maybe there was a machine that ate all the muffins that were old. And so anyways, I got to go to the sewage treatment plant. So I see this tripod standing over top of this small hole in the ground. And he says, you better get your suit up. And so I put my waterproof suit on, and he's like, yeah, and I'd put a mask over your face and glasses and put your hood up and make sure your gloves are tucked in good and velcroed. And I was like, what am I doing? And I got strapped to this thing, and I had to go down into this underground. It was just a concealed, confined space with concrete walls, but it had this little thing that grinded all the solid materials that came from the sewer. And that was the solid waste that were removed and then filtered. And the muffin eater was like gears that grinded all the poop. And I remember I had to pressure wash in this little concrete house, or this little concrete enclosed space underground. And I did it once. Let's say the next time he said, let's go clean the muffin eater, I said, let's get someone else to do it. So anyways, but it's cool, like, seeing the whole process of how the wastes are, we take those solid waste, remove it, settle it, and then we take bacteria, and all of a sudden we can drink it. So it's quite useful. But then you take large-scale livestock operations, and they produce large quantities of manure, and it must be treated. So some producers store the manure in large lagoons on their farms, and then there's also modern treatments now and facilities that what they do is they separate the solids from the liquids, and then they remove the excess fertilizers, and they recycle the clean water for farm use. And then the liquid manure is then spread on cropland. And actually out by my place right now, there's a lot of farmers out actually spreading that liquid manure. So you can imagine it smells quite nice. And actually some of you probably can smell it too. So we're all in the same area basically. So that's a pleasant smell in the morning. I love waking up to that. No, I don't actually. Anyways, air quality. So air quality is tested, and then the results have to be provided to the public. So Health Canada has developed standards and guidelines that list allowable levels of pollutants, and we'll go through a chart or we'll discuss the different levels a little bit as well, that we can see with regards to the air quality and such. Okay, but if they're too high, people are advised to stay in. Okay, and so the lower the number, the better the air quality. The higher the number, the worse the air quality. So say for example, I take a number here. and I go, okay, well, very good. Okay, so this is the best air quality. Very good would be 0 to 15. Now, if I go, okay, but then as I go down, there'd be 2 more stages. And then if I go poor, okay, well, we could look, maybe we'd be going from 85 to 100. Okay, and that would be poor air quality. So the lower the number, okay, lower the number in air quality, the better the air. Okay, so just remember that. So if you're looking at an air quality test and say you were asked, you need to look at it and you'd say, okay, well, air quality today is at a 7. Well, you'd know that, oh, that's very good. That's awesome. Okay, this is a good day to breathe in some air and take in some oxygen. But if the air quality got to a point where it was at, say, 87, well, then you go, that's poor. Like, I'm going to be wearing a mask. I'm not going outside. I don't want any of that air to be exchanged within my lungs because it's so poor. Okay, so some things that we need to look at, though, is if when you breathe, okay, if the levels are too high, then what happens is people are advised to stay indoors and to avoid heavy physical exercise as well. Because remember, exercise and your body needs oxygen, right? And it increases your body's need to take in that oxygen. So when I run, okay, I needed oxygen to begin with, but now because I'm using it up in my tissues, I'm at a higher demand for oxygen within my body. So that's going to be difficult if the air quality is poor and there's not a high level of quality oxygen in there. Then it's going to come to our body, and what's going to happen is without oxygen going to our body, basically what's going to happen is we're going to feel sluggish, we're going to feel tired, and we don't have enough oxygen to keep us going. We need that oxygen. Now, vaccinations, okay, vaccinations are things that increase people's ability to fight off disease. So we often develop vaccinations that respond to new outbreaks, okay, of disease. So an example of this was meningitis. So it's an inflammation of the covering of the brain. So inflammation meaning swelling, okay. So when the disease starts to spread in an area, public health officials provide free vaccinations, and they actually provide these to children and teens. Because they're the most likely to get the infection, because as years go on, as we get a little bit older, we build up a little more immunity and we build up more antibodies within our body to fight these infections, okay? So that's vaccinations though. And so you can see basically we just increase the chance by providing a little bit of small bits of the particular disease into our body, and we can build antibodies so we can fight against it. Food safety. This is one where, like, I know my parents are really big on, because they're in the restaurant business. And so basically what happens though is if there's any incident where food is unsafe, then health authorities immediately use newspapers, radio, pamphlets, brochures, internet, and they provide kind of food safety awareness. And so they can also, on recall, if food safety is breached, then they would be required to actually recall, and they can use newspapers and such to do so. But we also provide food quality awareness. So how good is the food, calories, content of the food, allergies, all that stuff is on food safety, and it helps to keep us safe. Okay, so food inspectors are also out there. I know I have a friend that's a food inspector, and so what they do is they check on the restaurants, food companies, meatpacking plants, and anyone basically that handles food, and ensuring that they're handling safely, right? So that we don't contract any pathogens or get sick from improper food handling. So we kind of have four points of food safety that I put in here. So one, clean, wash your hands and your surface often. Okay, this is important that we keep hands and surface clean. We're putting maybe raw meats and such on there. We want to make sure it's clean. Cook the proper temperature. Okay, so if you ever looked at a meat thermometer, and I wish I had one right now to show you, but if you looked at one, you can actually see that there's various temperatures on it, and on those various temperatures, you'll actually find that there are maybe poultry, beef, and they'll have different meats, and they need different times to cook, right? And then our third one is separate, so you do not cross-contaminate. So don't use one cutting board and put your chicken breast on it, and then, okay, that's in the pan frying up and stuff, and then go ahead and put your broccoli and cut your veggies on there, and okay, I'm gonna put those in. Now we're cross-contaminating, and then we can actually pass on some of those poor bacteria or those harmful bacteria, and they can make us quite sick. And then chill, refrigerate promptly. So basically, if we chill and we freeze, we can stop the growth of bacteria. If I leave it on the counter at room temperature, it's ideal temperatures for bacteria to grow. Maybe not quite warm enough, but too hot bacteria die, too cold bacteria die, or they don't grow. And then if we have a warm temperature, then they thrive, right? So those are kind of 4 key points we want to look at. Now, factors and public health guidelines. Okay, so what are some factors in public health guidelines that we see? Well, 1, population growth and overcrowding. Okay, so we have to monitor that. Okay, migration. Okay, lifestyle, travel, food supply, sexual activity, and childbirth. Okay, so this population growth and overcrowding, well, obviously that's going to be huge in affecting public health, because the more people, the more waste, the easier it is to pass on communicable diseases and such. And then the more restaurants, the more possible unsafe food handling. More greater population means more emissions, which means poor air quality possibly, things like that. So population growth and overcrowding can cause some huge public health issues. Migration, okay, so if we have migration, that can also cause some problems. Lifestyle, just how people live, okay, going to increase public health. So if we're messy and we're throwing our garbage on the ground, our lifestyle, things like that. Also being unhealthy ourselves, that's going to affect public health. Okay, travel, obviously we have to get immunizations before we go to travel and such, because if we don't, then we can contract pathogens, or we can contract disease and bring them back from other countries that can really affect us. And then food supply, obviously we know that one is huge. We have to make sure that the food is safely handled and safely packaged. Now, health warnings are used. We have food recall. So if you remember the XL Foods down in Brooks, there was a huge food recall due to the E. coli. And so these health warnings, they actually have to be, we have to hear via media, so whether it be newspaper or internet or radio, we actually have to hear about these things. A boil water advisory, that was like the one I was talking about in my old school where the pipe burst and there was a boil water. You can't drink the water or use the water unless you've boiled it to kill all the harmful bacteria within it. Mass vaccinations. Okay, sometimes when there's an incident where, excuse me, sorry, where there's an incident where there's a new outbreak of a disease of some sort, we do vaccinations, sorry, and those are done more on children and teens. And then road safety. There's health warnings on road safety as well. Okay, all this road safety is important at the same time. Now, 2 processes I want to talk about at the end here. Sterilization. So basically, I take hot steam and I kill any pathogens or diseases, bacteria, viruses, things. But I use that, and it was first discovered by Robert Koch. And basically, I just take this hot steam and I can steam things. I use steam. I can spray it on things. I can use it in a dishwasher. Think about a dishwasher, how hot the steam cycle gets, right? Well, what I'm doing is I'm killing pathogens. I'm sterilizing. And then why do they say take hot water and run your dishes under hot water? Because we're sterilizing them, okay? And then the last thing I'll talk about is aseptic methods. So basically, this is things that maybe we could refer to, especially in hospitals or dental offices and such, but using sterile bandages. So sterile meaning that there's no bacteria. They've been, they're clean, they're sterile, there's no pathogens on them. Instruments we can use linens, masks, and clothing during surgery. So we're going to use all these sterile bandages, which means they're clean. And then what's going to happen is we're going to make sure that we are scrubbing all exposed skin of the surgeon. So I don't know if you ever watched that show, what's it called? Grey's Anatomy. I think they're always doing surgery and they're getting ready and someone puts their gloves on for them and stuff like that. So that's them scrubbing in, but that's aseptic methods. And then also having all surgical staff wear rubber gloves. One, we want to prevent the spread of pathogens, just in case, you know, they might hide under fingernails and stuff like that. Gloves is really important. It's also another barrier for protection. But anyways, guys, that is impact of public health initiatives. Hopefully I've had all the key points that are on your questions in your list. And remember that we need to play, pause, rewind the videos and screencasts. I do appreciate you tuning in, and I hope these will definitely help you with your post assessments and to further your understanding of this subject matter. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye.